thank you. Thanks for taking the time to do this today. It's a
Thank
pleasure
you,
to
man.
speak with you. Simply, how are you today, and how's your weekend going so far?
Oh man, it's chill as I need it, because the reality is that I work all week, So me and my wife we've been having this really not doing anything weekends, so it started out perfectly, And also, I mean, we have rehearsals too this day, so but it's going great, man. Thanks.
I'm glad to hear that you've got some chilled time. It's so important. The world's so busy, and when you've got work and you've got life, and you've got, of course, the band
Yeah,
stuff as well, finding time just
yeah.
to be able to chill out is so rare.
It's rare, man. It's getting rarer, actually. Yeah,
Okay, well then, speaking about the band overall, then
yeah.
mentally, where are you all right now? Because of course, we are less than a week away from the release of your new album, The Pulsing Rush. So mentally, are you all in a happy place?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I, I- I'm speaking for myself here, of course, but I just love releasing records, man. It's like the favorite time for me because it kind of I feel it's a sense of release, like because this one it took a little longer to finish, It took like almost, I mean, 1 year and a couple of months, I think. And I'm the kind of guy that I don't like to sit in an album, sit on an album for too long, I'm not one of those guys that like, okay, this record is ready, so maybe in a year we release it, and
Hmm.
no, I get like this fire, and I just want to, show it to the world. So I feel excited, man. I feel that, I mean, people had a good reception for the first two songs, I think
Yep.
people are getting a good grip of how the record is gonna sound, and I'm excited. I'm excited to show it to the world, to see how people relate to it, because that's the favorite part to me, just see how people relate to it, and people come to me and say, oh man, this song is beautiful and all. And of course, we are on the early stages to getting a couple of shows going, We're not a band that plays live too often,
Hmm.
It's and it's kind of a choice, I'd say. But yeah, we're excited, man. We love playing together. That's the I think that's the thing to make the band work, We like playing with each other.
You enjoy hanging out with each other. You enjoy playing music. I mean, it sounds so simple, yet it is difficult. So it's great you still
It's
feel that.
difficult, man. I mean, I'm sure that big bands that we love, they they struggle with that, We actually know that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a privilege. Either I know we were a very tiny band and we'll probably continue that way, but I feel lucky, to play with people that I love, and my wife. I mean, the love of my life is in the band, so it's a joy, man. So, I
It
mean,
is.
I'm happy.
I'm so glad to hear that. Another part of the joys you said yourself, of course, is that other people get to hear what you've created and hopefully take something from it. But again, just sticking at the moment with the internal sort of feelings, because this feels like a big deal for you. And that's coming from me, who obviously is not inside the band, not inside your heads, and I'm looking in it and thinking it's a big deal. So tell me, what does it mean to you to release this record?
Oh man, what does it mean to me? That was the question, right? What does it mean
Mm,
to me to
yeah,
release this record?
yeah.
Oh man, wow, that's a tough question. Oh, trying to find, I mean, finding the words in English are a little harder, I guess. So, oh, let me think. I mean, it means it's weird, man. I may like trip a little bit and maybe not answer it the way you intended, but let,
No.
let me trip out a little bit. Um, I mean, it means everything and nothing at the same time, I guess, It's like I have this weird relationship with music that it's like I mean, I've been doing this since I'm 13 years old. I was 13 years old. I started the first band, and we did records and we did demos and we played, and I've been doing this like almost nonstop for 25 years, you know. And it's something. It's kind of like an addiction, you know. It's something. It's sometimes I feel like just throwing everything in the air and say fuck it, and you know I mean, if we, I mean, these days there isn't much giving back, you know, like it's harder to make people listen to your music. It's harder to, I mean, I'm not even, I won't even start with the money thing because I don't get any money with this band at all. It's not the objective at all. So, I mean, it's something, it brings me something. It fills me in a way that it's kind of hard to explain, you know.
Mhm.
It's like a creation, something that will, I feel, I mean, I may be wrong with that, but it's kind of like the sensation of that I'm creating something that will outlast me, you know? And that's the thing. Like I'm not like getting like this big expectations that people are gonna fucking, you know, find out about Isaurian when I'm dead and get something, turn it to something big or anything like that. But this idea that I created things that people will relate to for years and years and years and years, that's that's something that brings me a little fuzzy feeling, you know. So I maybe I have answered your question. Have I?
I
Like
think that is
that
spectacular.
yeah,
Spectacular
that's what it means to
answer.
me. Yeah.
I love that. To me, it's so important to hear, you know, an artist, a band, whatever, to describe and talk like this, where it they do care, but only you know reality, so you're detached from it to a certain degree. You know about the
Perfect.
money
Yeah.
issues, you know about the difficulty in trying to spread your name and get people ears. You know all of that, so you are sitting in a place where you can appreciate that one person, maybe on the other side of the world, who one day sends you a message and says, "Hey, I heard your record and I fell in love with it, and this is why." Now it might just be one person, but that's what matters to you.
Yeah. Perfect. That's exactly it. And I can I mean I started the band in 2017 and it was kind of something I had this previous band, this really modern metal band that I loved it, but we never really made it out of our hometown, you know. But we did a really, I mean, we did a record, an
Mm.
expensive as hell record with Rhys Fülber, which was the producer of our first EP, and he did this record of my other band. Rhys Fülber is the guy that produced Fear Factory and
Yeah.
Paradise Lost and all that bands, you know, that I grew up listening to. It was a really expensive record, and we released it, and it didn't do well, and we it's sort of, I don't know, maybe it was one of the reasons that the band started like losing interest, you know. So the band ended, and I just I still felt that I had something to give creatively, so I started this band, which was basically something I wrote the songs and I called some of my friends. Some of them were from this previous band, Vicente and Pedro, which was the keyboard player. And you know, I just wanted to get this out. I felt like it was probably the last thing I would ever do. You know, like okay, I just want to get these songs out and do this something a little different, more melodic, more you know emotional, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we did it. We did really like a tiny little release. I didn't get any promotion. It's just something on Instagram and whatever. And then but then this guy I can't remember his name now, but he wrote something on Instagram that was like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of a little crooked there. Sorry.
That's right.
Um, uh, and he wrote something like, "Oh man, I had this really difficult year and I had like suicidal thoughts and all and I listened to Hologram, which was the a song from our first record, right? And I listened to Hologram. It was like my favorite song of the year and got me through a lot. And thank you for that. I was man that felt good, you know.
Yeah.
And and I had this kind of I have this with everything in my life. I'd say like a little imposter syndrome, and and this kind of I have to be honest, this kind of validation it puts you in perspective, and I'm like, okay, that's beautiful, man. That's something that I'm able to do. I didn't know I was, and it gave me this good feeling, like, okay, maybe I'm doing something right here,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't even I can't even remember the question because I always trip out a little too much. But yeah, man, this is something that makes me go forward with the band. What it doesn't matter if I lose a bunch of money, it doesn't matter if like a fraction of the people that I wanted to hear the music, just hears it. But it's beautiful, man. It's something I love to do. Even if I take this out of the equation, like it's something that I enjoy creating,
Yes.
like something from zero, and then I write the demos and I get together with the guys and we arrange it, and then I get a producer and and the songs take shape, and that's something I love to do, man. That's my
It's you.
curse and my blessing,
Yes, it's you. It's you. And don't worry. I just want to say, do not worry about going off on tangents and wandering around and forgetting the questions or any part of that. My favorite types of interviews are where we're basically just having a chat. So you talk how you
That's
want to
awesome.
talk. It's my absolute pleasure to hear you speak like this, particularly when you talk about the creative processes, as I want to kind of dig a little bit into the vision that you may have had for this new record. So, back in the early days of its creation, it's time to make this album or work on
Yeah.
music. Did you have a vision for what you wanted the Pulsing Rush to be?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of factors for that too, there were a couple of songs that were left out of our previous record, Deep Sleep Metaphysics, and they were left out not because of quality, it was because first, I mean, we had a really tight budget. We couldn't like make a lot of songs. We couldn't make
Hmm,
like a really big full length, and and I always like to. I, I I always like for an album to be cohesive, I'd say, you know, and I don't like it to be like a bunch of like just a collection of songs that don't melt into each other. So there were a couple of songs that were left out of the record that I really really loved. And this was in my head, and they were heavier. I think it was Heart Like a Curse, which is the first song of the record, and I think Primal Life, yeah. And I just love how they sound, and they sounded like this. It took like the two things that I love the most, I'd say, which is like the of the band, I'd say, like um that's kind of sexier and mysterious swing that we have here and there, with the super heaviness we didn't really have all the time in the band. We did a
true.
couple of records that weren't like super heavy or hardly metal, I'd say. And I just love how it sounded, and I that's what inspired me. So the starting point were these two songs, and I was like, okay, let me start from here and see how it takes shape, and that's the time when I start like bugging everyone, like let's make another record, because I'm the guy, of course, that I have to like wake everyone up, like, hey guys, because we have this really long like periods of pause and just a little time from the band, and I was like, guys, it's time. And
Start knocking
there
on
was a little
doors.
exactly, hey guys, what's up? How are you doing, man? And and I mean, and then I wrote the other songs, and was like, okay, we got a record here, and it sounded heavy, it sounded like intense, and I realized that it was probably the record that it would like cement us in a way that people see as a heavier band, I'd say. because with the two previous records, we were kind of put in the kind of like shoegaze category. We played with a lot of shoegaze bands, slower
Yeah.
bands. We played with some dream pop bands, and it kind of fit. But then I was like, okay, we are a metal band. I mean, we have everything. We have a lot of post rock and dreamy stuff and ambient, songs even, right? But this is like the one that, okay, we are a metal band.
Oh, so you feel
And
like it does define that for you?
I feel that I feel so.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe it's an impression, a wrong impression that I'm having, but yeah, I don't think there's a way, and we don't want to escape that. We are a metal band. We are a bunch of metalheads. So it's cool. We love it. I fucking love it. So it doesn't mean that our next record, if there's one, if that we would do like something wildly soft and dreamy, and we can do
Yeah.
that. Uh, Sure.
Yeah, you'll do it you feel comfortable with. But sticking then go, so you had those first two tracks, and that was your base to kind of
Yeah.
create this album. Were you initially quite comfortable though, continuing that writing process? Did you have a confidence that you could you could find an overall theme and cohesive album?
Yeah, man. I mean, that. Yeah. I mean, when you say theme, you mean like a lyrical theme or like a sound theme, like a
Or just
sound unity?
yeah, all of it, I would say. How
Yeah.
you feel about it. Like even not even necessarily like it's a theme where it means this one specific thing, because I don't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that. I mean just where you were feeling and seeing, okay, this is what this album sound is supposed to be like.
Yeah. I mean, it happened like when I had all the demos, you know, specifically the six songs that I don't, because there's the Pale Blue Dot, which is like a all keyboards kind of, I'd say maybe it's kind of an interlude, a really
Yeah.
melodic ambient interlude. I had all the other six songs, and I was like, okay, I see it, and th this was especially important for us to see the how we were going to approach the production. And that's how it happened, how I approached Jesse, which was the guy that produced our record, right? Because I saw something that was, I mean, it was all about peaks and valleys, with this record. It was like the heavy parts I wanted to be heavier than everything we've ever done. And I know that naturally the softer parts, the more melodic parts would kind of, you know, give it give them the dynamic I was feeling it in the demo. And that's something interesting because this one, the studio tracks that we did, the final songs, they changed quite a bit from the demos that I had. On our previous records, like if you hear the demos and if you hear the final tracks, they hardly changed like anything. It was obviously better recorded and all because we did it in a studio, but they were the same songs. They had the same tones, the same guitar tones. We just like got this home demos that I did and put in the studio, and that was it. This one we kind of we how can I say it? We mixed it up a little bit. We tried to see further than what was in the demos, and that was very important. That's why there's like some the electronic stuff in the record. It came up in the studio, when we were recording. This little ideas that we had, that Jesse had. So, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I had a vision, and I knew exactly what I wanted the record to sound, which was really heavy, really
Yeah.
dynamic. But I'm not sure if the final result was exactly what I envisioned, and that's a good thing, you know.
Okay,
That's a
so
good
that's a
thing.
good thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good thing because that's to me, that's why I love like getting this big producers, you know, like this because they make a difference in that sense, you know. They kind of twist your vision, either if you want it or not, you know, and that makes for something interesting and that makes you grow as a songwriter, as a musician, and all.
Not easy. No, everybody can do that though. Not everybody can willingly let somebody else come along and twist their vision. Have you always been comfortable with letting others do that for you?
Yes, I mean, yes, because like I said, the my previous band we did the
Of
record
course.
with Rhys Fülber. We did it in Los Angeles. We did it for 30 days, and it was a really beautiful experience. I don't think I'll ever have that budget or that or the time to make a record like that. But I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of making a record, you know, the collaboration, which is weird because there's like two sides to it. Because the writing is it's something very solitary to me, something very personal, you know. I don't like people like messing around when I'm recording a demo or just giving too many opinions. Like I'm like, let me finish the song, okay? Just chill. And
Yeah.
I you know that's just the way I work. And then I give them this songs. Okay, guys, okay, I'm done. What do you guys think? And you know, I go through the band and they give their opinions, and then I go to the producer. But I mean, that's the way I like to work, you know, because this the part where I write the songs, that's something very personal. It's like a little meditation thing that I have, I'd say, you know. It's something that I think I have unlearned how to write songs collectively, I'd say. That's something, that's a confession that I have, you know. But that's something very different. I mean, you know, and then I take the songs that like the songs that are ready to the guys in the band, and then I'm like free from that process, that solitary process. So in this part, I love the collaboration, you know. I love my wife like writing the vocals and then the guys arranging and then the producer like saying, okay, this works, this doesn't. You know, it's like the process. Like, okay, I made this. It's a little test. Like, I'm a student and I have this ready. What do you guys think? What it's you know? Do you get what I'm saying? I always feel like I'm being confusing.
No,
I'm not,
you're
right?
creating a picture in my head. So I'm
Yeah,
picturing you walking in with call it a map of the world, so to speak, and you spread it out on the
yeah,
table, and then you have all your figures for like a war almost in place, and you're like, this is my
yeah,
design, and then your collaborators come along and they move things and say, well, what about it going here, and what about this going
exactly.
there, and you all together realizing, oh, now we've created world domination.
That's a perfect picture that you painted, and that's exactly it, man. And you know, and I'm not annoying. I'm not like a guy that at this stage I'm not protective of the songs that I wrote. You know, I'm not at all. Like I'm protective of the process of writing those songs. But when it gets to that point to show it to the band, to show it to the producer, that's something that I just love doing. You know, that's something that is essential to me. I I mean, the idea of doing something all alone, like start to finish, just like, okay, I'll write everything, all instruments, and then I'll get just an engineer to record it however the fuck I want. That doesn't sound appealing to me. I love the collaboration, but I'm particular with that kind of process. But that doesn't mean that I'll learn again how to write collectively. You know, that's something that I feel I don't think that I have to do it, but it's something that I want to do, you know. Maybe someday, you know. But that's not how Isaurian works actually, because that's not like something that I say to them, okay, this is how I do. It's from it's of the nature of the band, I guess, just work this way, you know. I've tried like a couple of times, like, hey guys, do you have like riffs? Hey, do you want to come up with something? And when I realized that it just it just didn't move like the way it moves when we do this way, like I write the songs and all. So that makes a difference too. But yeah,
It
we'll
is the
see. Who
Isaurian
knows?
Isaurian way. It is the process that this band has, and it works phenomenally well. So,
Exactly.
what's the saying? If it isn't broke, don't fix it. Just it's all good.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, so when you reflect on the entire process, so we're talking about the writing stage, production stage, all stages of the creation of this record. Do you have any particular favorite memories, sort of things you did or maybe you had to do that you just enjoyed more than you've ever done before?
Ooh, like a favorite moment on the trajectory of the band. That's
Nope,
the question, right?
this particular
Oh,
record,
this
this
particular
record.
record.
Yeah,
Okay.
creating this
Oh man,
record.
dude, like I just the experience in studio, like Jesse Gander, the producer, he's the guy that produced like a lot of great bands like
Mm.
Brutus, Brutus, right? That
Yeah.
the Belgian band, they're great. And Japan Droids, they just released a record yesterday. And Ancients, he mixed a very good record, like from Rotten Sound, the death metal band, the kind of grindcore band.
Oh, yes.
He's and he traveled to Brazil. He was super excited to come to Brazil, and he's a traveling guy. He loves to travel, and just the experience to have him here in our hometown. And we had like the studio all to ourselves. We have a friend here that has this tiny studio, but it had everything that we needed. And I mean, we spent like 6 straight days making the record. That was beautiful, man. And just like we also, we had fun with Jesse. We took him to waterfalls nearby, and he had this touristy moments, with us. And we were like, I think it's out there, but it wasn't all fun and games because another very favorite moment because of the circumstances, you know, um, just like days before Jesse arrived, uh, my wife had a cancer diagnosis, yeah, and it was like a early stage. She's healed. It's beautiful. Everything's great, and I'm really, 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 really thankful for that. And but it obviously it took its toll, right, on the recording process. So it was bittersweet in that sense. But she had just received the diagnosis, and she wasn't ready to record it, right? She wasn't ready to get creative and record the vocals there with Jess in the room, and we understood that very early. But the days that she visited the studio, she was like still processing everything, and it was very hard for me to have to be there like every day and be involved with the record, but still with her in my mind.
Yeah.
And it was weird. It was kind of painful, but she was so supportive, man. So supportive, and she knew how important it was for everyone in the record, and she was very clear that she wasn't ready to start the record. I mean, her net for her parts on that moment, but she was always and my favorite part I'd say was when everyone the like was like one or two moments I'd say that everyone was in the studio together, me, Juana, Renata, Roberto, Guilherme, and Jesse, when we were all in the room making the record. That's something that I love, That's something that I really cherish so much because you know it's been getting harder and harder to make a record like this, with everyone in the studio, with everyone thinking the record and having this as a priority. And we did like our previous record was still in a pandemic time, you know. So
Mm.
not everyone, I mean, I don't think there was a time that everyone was in the studio together, you know. We did it very separately. And just the joy of having the whole band, even in those circumstances, you know, it was beautiful. That was my favorite part, like by far, you know. Was and Jesse is such a great person, you know, such a guy, and he understood, you know, the circumstances and still was so understanding and such a great energy to everyone. So yeah, it was great, man. It was bittersweet at times, but it was amazing. That it was a really really fulfilling experience, you know, at the end.
Yeah, it's an experience that I hope and you hope and everyone hopes you never have to have again, even though you can reflect it in
Absolutely.
such a wonderful way. Like, and I'm glad that you can reflect it in that way. I'm just glad that that was a one-off, like, it's a one-off, and we move on, and it will be a
Yeah,
nice, it's a memory, and that's all it is, as we continue
exactly.
onwards. Um, and not only the future, because the future is so important, and it's what we want to really talk to you about here as much, because we are talking about a record that's going to be out as the time recorded next week, and then further and further on, fingers crossed, what more bigger things in store for you.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what success for the pulsing rush would look like for you? I don't necessarily mean numbers, e.g., yes, ideally, 1 million sales, 10 million streams, and all of that.
Yeah.
Ideally, of course.
Yeah.
But realistically, what would success for you look like with this record?
Yeah. Oh man. I I I always I'm always afraid that something that I'll say is will sound like egocentric or whatever, like, or it's something that, you know, I want satisfaction
Mm.
for my ego or anything, and I hope it doesn't sound like that because it's not at all. But I'd love for it to, I'd love if people love the record, you know.
Yeah.
I want people to relate to it. I want people to, I don't know, either amplify reality or escape from reality or however people process the record, but in a way that, because that's what I want, you know, when I listen to music. I want to feel something, you know. I want to feel something intensely. You know, to me, the shittiest kind of music is the one that makes you feel nothing, you know, takes you nowhere, you know, and be it something extremely heavy and violent or something that is ethereal and trippy and takes you somewhere peaceful. And I guess I try to bring all those things together with Isaurian. So, I mean, I hope that people feel something good with this record, you know, even with the sad songs, because, you know, sad songs are essential, I'd say. I've listened to sad songs all my life, and sometimes sad songs are the ones that save you, you know. And so I hope people will relate to it and take something beautiful out of it. So that's like the main thing. That would be a success, you know. I want a lot of people to listen to it. Every record that we release, I want just more people to listen to it. And I know, like I said, it's getting harder and harder to run through algorithms and the Spotify thing with a bunch of fake artists and weird stuff in there, you know. Like, and it's getting harder and harder to I mean, it's weird, right? Because I know 20 years ago I wouldn't be doing this interview with you, you know, like it would be harder, right? So
Yes.
it would be way harder to get my music across like hundreds of countries, literally, you know. But there's also this challenge to get more and more people to listen without having to spend like thousands of dollars to promote your music, you know. But you know, it's fine. So yeah, um, I'd love for more people to listen to it than their previous record, and it's going good in that way because Primal Life and Carved Earth are doing numbers way better than the ones we did before. But I'll be like very, very honest with you, like, because I mean, we don't have expectations to like make it as a band in the sense that it will be our job and we'll make money, we'll make a living out of it, you know. We try to like don't have zero expectations regarding that. But I'd love for Isaurian to reach a point that we can continue to make music, you know, with support from
Yeah.
people, from the fans, you know, like maybe be like a self-sustaining band, you know. That's the thing that I wanted to reach this kind of maturity in our career. And step by step, I think we're getting there. It will depend a lot on how this record does, and but I'm optimistic, man, and at the same time, whatever happens, happens, and I'll be happy. You know, I love this record. I love making it. I love making records, like I said, and whatever happens, happens, and I'll be happy either way. But yeah, I'd love for people to listen to it and love it and support us in whichever way they can. You know, that's success to me. That's if that happens, I'll say, okay, we did way better than I ever dreamed. You know.
What can I possibly add to all of that? Simply phenomenal words there and totally fair and realistic as well. I want this record to do it as well as possible as well. I've heard it is a phenomenal release, arguably
Thank
up
you
there
so
as one
much.
of your best, if not your best. And it is out on October 25th, so let's not forget that as
Yeah,
well. Wherever
yeah,
you are, we are talking, as you said, you're in Brazil, I'm in the UK. We're spreading the
yeah,
word and we're just all doing our little bit to spread the word about this album and because it deserves to be heard. Lastly, all right,
yeah.
George, what's what's a realistic goal that you would like to achieve over the next 12 months or so? So, let's say the next year to the end of 2025, a realistic goal that you could potentially achieve. What might it be?
Ooh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I that's kind of a continuation of our last answer. I'd love in a year, I'd love to be ready to make another record because that's what I love to do, you know, and that's kind of usually our timeline. Like a year after I release a record, I start thinking of the next one, you
Yep,
know, and I'd love to play a little more live, you know. We're getting ready to do it, right?
yep,
Um, because we play very little live because we are really annoying about because I'll tell you something like I said, me and my wife and Guilherme especially, which we are the three older guys in the band, the three other people in the band, and we've been in bands since we are 13, 14 years old, and we've played in a lot of shitholes,
yeah,
you know, like we've I mean, because sometimes I feel I'm afraid that people would think like I'm, you know, Isaurian is a tiny band, so who the fuck are you to pick and choose where you play, you
yes,
know? But you know, it's not like an ego thing. It's just something that we chose to like. Okay, we've played in a lot of shitholes for 5 people, 10 people, for basically bottled water as payment. You know, we've done it a lot.
you
You
you don't
know,
want to do it again.
I don't want to do it again, right? I mean, we. It's not like we certainly don't have the expectation or to like be super well paid as a band. It's not like
Of
that, but
course.
we want to play, we want to get something out of the concerts that we do that aren't necessarily money or whatever, you know. We want to make we want to have like the means to make a beautiful concert, you know, for the people
Yeah.
and and to have that exchange, you know, with everyone in the crowd. And we with so many years in our baggage, we have this eye, you know, this kind of vision that we know when it's gonna be worth it and when it's not. So, but we'd love to play more, man. We'd love to play out of Brazil, you know,
Yeah.
because actually, I don't know, this may surprise you, but we have way more listeners in Europe and USA than in Brazil,
I was
you
looking
know?
at I was studying your numbers. I actually saw this
Yeah,
earlier on. Yes.
yeah, yeah, you know. So, I mean, obviously we can pack a concert here in our hometown, but we have this little objectives, which is like we want to play outside of Brazil. We want to play a little more and have this exchange with different people around the world. And I mean, I think it's realistic to say that in the next 12 months, if not play the concerts, at least book the concert in the next 12 months, you know. Maybe if the Pulsing Rush is well received and it gets traction and people listen to it all over the world, we'll make sure it happens. We can achieve that in the next 12 months. You know, we'd love to. And like I said, write and get ready to the next record because that's what I love to do, man.
All super realistic and super doable, and fingers crossed it all works out. They at least get some of the way
Yeah.
to those goals. But just to remind everybody, that's the future. That's next year and beyond. For now, the
Yeah.
Pulsing Rush, October 25th, as the year comes to an end. George, you've
Hell
given
yes.
me loads of your time today on your relaxing weekend, so I'm going to step away and let you go back to enjoying a peaceful weekend. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's been an absolute pleasure on my end.
Oh man, Carl, thank you so much. You were an awesome interviewer. You're a great guy.
Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.